Some men pour years into becoming worthy, yet the ones who barely try often become unforgettable. This isn't luck, and it's not about who has more money, muscles, or status symbols. There's a deeper force at play, a psychological current beneath comfort, success, and self-improvement, one that quietly decides who gets pursued and who gets ignored. Today, we're going to uncover it. Because if you misunderstand this, you can spend your whole life chasing validation that never stays, always pushing, improving, striving, only to find intimacy slips further away. But when you understand what truly magnetizes connection, effort becomes unnecessary, and attraction feels natural, inevitable. Welcome to PsycheLure, where attraction, emotion, and inner presence intertwine. Here, we don't chase. We learn to become the kind of man people gravitate toward without effort. And it all starts by understanding why effort alone has never been enough. Imagine two men standing side by side in life. One does everything right. He works on himself, disciplines his habits, builds his career, improves his appearance, reads every book on confidence and connection. He plays by the rules, patiently, faithfully, tirelessly. And yet, his interactions feel forced. He's respected, admired even, but rarely chosen. There's a distance he can't bridge, a softness in how people respond to him, as if something essential is missing, and he can't see it. Then there's the other man. He's not as polished. His life isn't perfectly structured. His routines aren't flawless. But people lean in. They laugh more freely around him. He walks into a room and tension loosens. Conversations bend toward him effortlessly. Two paths, both working toward connection. Only one is pursued, while the other keeps reaching. And here's the question that lingers in the mind. If doing everything right still leaves you chasing, what invisible advantage does the other man hold? If you've ever wondered why effort sometimes pushes connection farther away instead of bringing it closer, you're not imagining it. Most men are taught a formula that sounds noble. Achieve more, be better, earn affection through self-improvement and stability. And don't misunderstand, growth matters. But when improvement becomes a way to earn permission to be chosen, it backfires. Because beneath all the progress, the energy still whispers, I'm trying to be enough. And nothing repels attraction faster than a man who tries to earn what another man receives simply by being. This isn't a flaw in you. It's a flaw in the script you were given. A script that suggests attraction is a reward for checking enough boxes. But here is the unsettling truth. Attraction isn't granted at the finish line of self-improvement. It's rooted in who you are before you try. When that sinks in, everything shifts. And the journey begins with rewriting the lens you see yourself through. Core truth, the internal state. Attraction doesn't start in the body, the bank account, or the resume. It begins in the quiet space inside you, the place where you decide whether you stand in the world as someone seeking approval or someone who already knows his value. People don't respond to what you have. They respond to the energy behind it. Two men can speak the same words, look equally strong, dress the same, and one will feel magnetic while the other feels invisible. Why? Because presence is not performance, confidence is not strategy, and connection is not earned, it is felt. Improve your life, yes. Build, refine, evolve, absolutely. But understand this, power doesn't come from proving yourself, it comes from settling into yourself. When your internal state is grounded, the world feels you before you speak. The mechanism, the emotional value gap. Now, let's give structure to this invisible force, the emotional value gap. It's the difference between how secure you feel in yourself and how secure others feel in themselves when they stand next to you. When someone senses your inner foundation is solid, not loud, not forced, simply undisturbed, they instinctively place you higher in their internal hierarchy of emotional value. Not because you convince them, but because your energy leaves no room for comparison. This gap isn't about status. It's about stability versus seeking. The man who quietly knows his worth creates gravity. The man who tries to prove his worth creates space, a distance others don't feel compelled to cross. And once that emotional gap forms, attraction doesn't need momentum. It has gravity. The work isn't to become superior, it's to become unmoved. Social reality example. Picture a small gathering, not loud, not chaotic, just people talking, glasses in hand, music soft enough to hear every tone shift in a voice. You notice two men. The first is polished, shirt crisp, posture rehearsed, jokes smooth but slightly eager. He speaks with confidence, yet his eyes quietly scan for approval after each punchline, measuring reactions, hoping to land. People respect him, but they don't sink into him. Then, across the room, there's another man. He's relaxed. Nothing about him tries to stand out, and yet he does. His attention is slow, focused, present. He listens without waiting for his turn to speak. When he talks, there's no rush, no hunger for validation. People drift toward him, not because he demands attention, but because he anchors the room. One man is impressive, the other is undeniable. And if you look closely, you'll see the difference has nothing to do with what they own or how they look, and everything to do with how deeply they rest within themselves. Value sorting. Above verses, below frame. Here's something most people never say out loud, but everyone feels. When someone meets you, they sort you, almost immediately. Not into good or bad, but into above me or below me in emotional grounding. It's not conscious. It's not malicious. It's instinct. We all do it. We sense who is calm in their skin and who is still negotiating their worth with the world. And once that silent judgment settles, the dynamic follows. If they feel steadier around you than they do alone, you become a point of gravity, someone who adds emotional height. But if they feel more anchored in themselves than you do, you become the one seeking elevation through them. And here's the quiet truth. The moment someone senses you don't need them to rise, you rise in their eyes. Grounding isn't dominance, it's inner certainty. People don't follow the loudest energy, they follow the one that doesn't move. Pre-selection, authentic versus performed presence. This is where many men get trapped. They hear that confidence attracts, so they imitate it. They project certainty. They speak louder, stand taller, use practiced lines, posture like someone who has options. They perform strength instead of embodying it. But here's the problem. Presence cannot be faked. You can mimic behaviors, but you cannot mimic the nervous system behind them. A man pretending to be secure leaves tiny cracks in the energy, moments where his voice tightens, his humor becomes defensive, or his attention flickers, searching for cues of approval. It's subtle. You might not consciously notice it, but your body does. Contrast that with a man who doesn't need recognition. He isn't trying to be seen. He's simply there. His silence feels comfortable, not sharp. His humor flows without aiming to impress. He speaks because words arise, not because he's trying to fill a space or win a moment. Pre-selection isn't about proving others want you. It's about carrying the quiet sufficiency of someone who doesn't chase belonging. People feel the difference instantly. Trying says, I hope I qualify. Being says, I don't need to qualify. And desire forms around the one who doesn't need to be chosen. The most magnetic men do not broadcast value. They radiate it without intention. Internal power, energy, overachievement. Let's make something clear. Improving your life is important. Building competence, discipline, and a stable world matters. But here's the mistake most men make. They believe attraction happens after they earn enough accomplishments, as if confidence is granted once the checklist is complete. But achievement doesn't create magnetism. It only amplifies the energy that's already there. A man who feels not enough inside will carry insecurity even on his best day, no matter the job title, physique, or lifestyle, because external upgrades can polish a surface, but they cannot silence a nervous system still craving reassurance. Meanwhile, a man who is rooted in himself radiates emotional wealth even in simplicity. Others feel it. They sense the absence of inner scramble, that rare quiet inside him. This is why you've seen men with modest lives hold deeper influence than those with everything. They are not trying to win the room. They are the room. Presence is not built by stacking achievements like armor. Presence comes when you stop needing armor at all. And here's the paradox. When your inner ground becomes your security, your outer world grows effortlessly. Not as compensation, but as expression. You don't attract by towering over others. You attract by standing firmly within yourself. Stability is seductive. Stillness has gravity. And a man who is emotionally self-contained becomes a place someone wants to rest beside. The validation spiral. The trap that weakens men. When a man doesn't feel complete within himself, he begins to chase confirmation from others, quietly, subtly, constantly. At first it looks like effort, texting a little faster, trying a little harder, thinking more about how he's perceived than how he feels. Then it turns into dependency. Attention becomes oxygen, praise becomes fuel, silence becomes threat. And slowly, he stops acting from truth and starts acting from fear of not being enough. This is the validation spiral, the moment when connection shifts from desire to survival. You try to hold on, and that very effort causes what you're holding to slip. Because when someone feels you grasping for reassurance, the dynamic changes. You stop being a presence and become a seeker. There's no shame in this. Almost every man falls into it. It comes from a good place, wanting to be valued. But wanting to be valued and needing to be valued are worlds apart. Attraction grows in space, not pressure. It flows toward the man who is whole, without applause. The moment approval becomes your oxygen, you suffocate magnetism. Presence, the rare emotional gravity. Presence is one of the rarest qualities a man can embody, not because it's difficult to understand, but because it's difficult to surrender into. Presence is the absence of mental noise. It is the quiet where self-worth no longer depends on reaction, validation, or outcome. A man who is present isn't calculating, performing, or anticipating. He is simply here, fully occupying the moment with nothing to prove and nothing to hide. In a world addicted to stimulation, urgency, and self-display, a grounded presence feels like oxygen. People gravitate toward it without knowing why. They feel seen without being judged, held without being claimed, understood without explanation. This doesn't mean you become silent or withdrawn. Presence isn't emptiness, it's density. It's the emotional weight of someone who isn't moved by external turbulence. When a woman encounters a man like this, something happens in her nervous system. She relaxes. The need to perform dissolves. Her guard lowers without effort. She steps out of evaluation and into feeling. That shift, from thinking to feeling, is where attraction lives. It's where she stops measuring and starts surrendering into the moment with you. Think back. When was the last time someone gave you their full attention? Without rushing to reply, without scanning the room, without trying to be interesting or impressive. Those moments are rare because true presence requires a man to be at peace with who he is, without distraction, without escape, without scrambling for significance. When you become that still point in the world, you don't chase connection. You become the place it returns to. The most powerful men aren't the loudest. They are the ones whose silence feels safe. Emotional modality. Women feel, then choose. Men often decide first with logic, then justify with emotion. Women move differently. They feel first, then reason afterward. This isn't weakness, it's sophistication. She isn't hunting for the most impressive resume, she's tuning into the emotional environment you create around her. Does she feel relaxed around you, or tense, safe, or evaluated, invited, or assessed? You cannot force that response. You cannot talk your way into it. You cannot posture or perform your way there. A man may have status, looks, and resources, but if his presence carries anxious edges or approval hunger, she feels it immediately. Her body senses the emotional cost of being near him. Meanwhile, another man may have fewer external advantages, but his calm nervous system, open attention, and quiet confidence make her feel more like herself when she's with him. And here is the unspoken truth. A woman doesn't fall for the man who tries to impress her. She falls for the man who makes her feel more at home in her own skin. When she senses steadiness instead of strategy, she doesn't think, "He's better." She feels it. And the decision is already made before her mind catches up. You don't win attraction through superiority. You inspire devotion through emotional safety and depth. Action path, stillness, solitude, and self-containment. So, how do you build this presence, this inner gravity? Not by adding more, but by subtracting the noise. Start with stillness. Give yourself moments where you don't reach for distraction, stimulation, or escape. Let silence feel safe again. Let your thoughts rise and fall without grabbing at them. Learn to enjoy solitude, not as isolation, but as self-fullness. A man who fears being alone isn't ready to be followed. He clings, he grasps, he fills every quiet moment with effort. Sit with yourself long enough that you stop negotiating your worth with the world. Then practice truth. Not brutal honesty, grounded honesty. Speak slowly, listen fully. Let pauses breathe. Let another person finish their thought without rushing to prove your place in the moment. Attraction is not a performance. It is the side effect of inner certainty. A man who seeks to be chosen bends his behavior around approval. A man who already belongs to himself moves like someone who cannot be shaken by outcome. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing connection, connection walks toward you. Not because you demanded it, but because you became the kind of person others feel better near. You don't ascend by trying to be more. You grow by becoming quietly undeniable. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is power that no longer needs to roar. Before we close, there's something essential to understand. This isn't about learning how to pull, control, or influence someone's feelings. True presence is not a strategy. It's a state of being. If you try to use it as a tactic, it collapses. Because the moment you pursue power to get a result, you've already lost the very energy that creates it. Inner groundedness only works when it's real. When connection becomes a game, you fall out of presence and back into performance. And performance is just another form of insecurity wearing better clothes. Real strength doesn't manipulate, it liberates. It gives others emotional room to breathe. It makes people feel safe to be themselves, not shaped by your expectations. Magnetism is never driven by control. It's driven by freedom, yours and theirs. And here is the beautiful paradox that completes this journey. When you no longer need someone to stay, they feel safe staying. When your identity no longer hinges on whether they choose you more deeply. Not because they must, but because your presence feels like a place they never want to leave. A man becomes magnetic not when he is worshipped, but when he is whole. Cultivate that wholeness, and connection won't be something you chase. It will be something that finds you and stays. Because the moment you stop needing her to remain is the moment she never wants to walk away.